Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. And Tom, we've got a couple of special guests today in Matt Connolly from the state and Ben
Briner. It's hard to pronounce. From
the state as well, covering Clemson. Ben, you cover South Carolina, but you're here
helping with Clemson.
Does Matt need a lot of help?
Yes, a whole ton of it.
So
I'll take all the help I can get.
We're a few days out from this. We'll get the full media day tomorrow. Matt, is there anything more that you're looking to hear from the teams about this game, or are you ready for this thing to happen?
Not a ton. I'm looking forward to hearing Jackson Carman speak tomorrow about the recruiting process and some Chase Young stuff going up against him. I know he's talked before about he knows Chase from his time when he visited Ohio State several times and is very comfortable and knows a lot about the Ohio State program. So I'm interested to see, or I guess hear some of what he says. I
saw Chase Young. Chase Young was asked yesterday, could you see what Jackson Carman said about you or said? And Chase is like, yeah, the coach just told me. I know about it. And I don't know what exactly was so wrong about what was said, other than I faced Cleveland Farrell the year before. I've gone against good players. And
so I actually asked Chase. I just said, do you know Jackson Carman? What are your thoughts on him? And that was when he immediately went to, yeah, I know what he said. And I was like, wait, what did he say? He said, yeah, he knows what he said. Y'all know what he said. Which I really wasn't sure. I really didn't know what he said.
It's an insult to compare him to the number 4 pick in the draft, apparently.
I mean, it's sort of a matter that both teams haven't totally been challenged this year, and both of them are trying to manufacture disrespect, and both of them are sort of at this point where they're both stupid good teams. And what else are you going to say?
Manufacture is a good word there, because it's like Dabo was talking about the disrespect of being the number 3 seed. It's yeah, but you're the number 3 seed. And there are 3 good teams this year, and everyone agrees that you're one of those 3. And Ohio State's well, yeah, we're 2-point underdogs against this other really good team. Yeah, but that means you're as good as this other really good team. It's been a week of extremely manufactured outrage, which is always the very best kind of outrage.
Well, and J.K. Dobbins said that Ohio State is by far the most disrespected team in the nation.
I mean, one of at least 130 of the most disrespected, yes.
Because they were picked 4th in the Big Ten East, which was a true fact that actually sort of happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
who picked them there?
Well, that's Cleveland.com will do. They'll ask a bunch of the beat writers around the Big Ten.
Okay.
And I don't know that they had them necessarily 4th.
What was the official rate?
Michigan was officially picked to win the Big Ten East, which
the Big Ten doesn't do it.
As a Clemson guy, you may not be familiar with Michigan.
Yeah.
The best time of year for Michigan is before the season starts, because that's when everyone says Michigan is at their peak.
As a Big Ten alum, God, everyone's an idiot. Jesus.
But
Goodness.
So there, it's Michigan was the favorite, so obviously J.K. Dobbins didn't feel that, and then dropping behind LSU, that's more disrespect, and maybe this is the disrespect ball, and it has been fun to watch the Dabo going back and forth and the players going back and forth about who is the most disrespected. Hopefully, the winner will finally get that respect that they deserve.
I'm not sure, because I think LSU might be favored.
Yeah,
well, and you were saying that the other night. You've got LSU by 10 over whoever wins, right?
I think LSU. I don't know.
By 10?
I've said all year I think LSU is the best team in the country, and I'm not really ready to change that at this point. Just from what I've seen, I don't know. I think that offense is so good that they're going to score and put a lot of points on anyone. And I think their defense, when they need to make stops, Aranda's so good as a defensive coordinator, and they've got enough talent over there that they will. So I've thought all year LSU will win the national title, and no reason to change it at this point.
Nope. And the commotion you've heard is Patrick Murphy from 24/7 joining us.
Woo! He's here.
Pat, who is the most disrespected team in the nation? Is it Ohio State or is it Clemson?
It's Clemson. Like,
Hater.
regardless of what Ohio State said, I mean, like, Ohio State was the number one team in the country for multiple weeks. You know, I mean, like, the defending national champion team sat at number 3 consistently. So, in my mind, I mean, if we're splitting hairs on what is the most disrespected team, I mean, it's got to be Clemson. But
Pat, who has Clemson played?
well,
North Carolina, sir.
That's one of the 2 Carolinas by directional reality. And frankly, North Carolina beat South Carolina. I was there for it. It was maybe one of the worst games I've ever seen, but we'll put that aside.
I will not tolerate your East Carolina slander, sir.
They are lovely people. I have friends who have gone there. They have a wonderful barbecue place called Bees and some other stuff. Not really a lot of it. Several breweries.
Mm-hmm.
But who is actually the most disrespected team?
UConn. Next question.
The most least deserving of respect.
I do think
Jeez.
Clemson. I do think Clemson being the 3 seed is where they should be. I mean, if you look at the resume, and if you only base it off of this year, it's hard to argue. No matter what Dabo says, they have the 3rd best resume, and it's really not close.
And they've won most seasons, but you've got 2 undefeated teams in front of them who have beaten
better
more
teams.
teams. Exactly. So
Well,
that's-
And
and that
Clemson,
doesn't mean that's not the best team in the country. Like,
Right.
Clemson could be the best team in the country and still be ranked number 3, and that wouldn't be wrong.
Right.
You know, you don't know that until the end of the playoff, right? Like, that's what the playoff is for. Is you learn that, like, you know, you ideally get the best 4 teams, which I think they probably did, right? I mean, is there anybody you would put in over these 4 teams?
Nope.
I mean, this.
So, like, if they got it,
I'm also not sold on Oklahoma.
Yeah, no
but
one's sold on Oklahoma.
If Utah had won, I think you put Utah in over.
Right,
them.
I think
they
Oregon,
didn't.
I think Oregon is probably better than Oklahoma.
Oregon is better, but
again,
with 2 losses.
Alabama, I think, is. I mean,
Even then, like, the best team they played is Texas A&M, who was very 7-5 in the SEC, and the second best team they played is Wake Forest or 6-6 UNC,
And Wake Forest without their best receiver.
best 2 receivers.
Yeah. I mean, that's an actual fact. Those are the second best teams they've played. And it's not their fault. They can't decide who's on their schedule. But their schedule just wasn't very good, and that's not their fault. They have a boatload of NFL talent. They have all the pieces in the world.
well, yeah, and that's why you win.
But they can't do anything about it until...
If you win all of your games, which Clemson did, then you're in. You know, like, you win all your games, you win the ACC, you're going to be in the playoff, right? And, like, that's when you get tested. So it's tough to say, like, yes, they haven't played someone in terms of, like, our analytics, our analysis of everything.
Also in terms of sheer quality, because, I mean, that A&M team is... They're fine. They're good-ish, but... And I like Wake Forest. I think Dave Clawson's a hell of a coach. He is a wonderful coach. He is a great interview guy, but they ain't that... They're still Wake Forest. They still get Wake Forest talent, and maybe UNC's better, and if you are UNC's better, they still have 1 year of Mac Brown UNC talent, not... 3, 4, 5 years of Mac Brown UNC talent.
Clemson has not been tested this year in terms of playing, but they have a veteran team, so can't they carry over what happened last year into this year and maybe ride that wave of experience?
They have a very young team overall. I mean,
But they all play. I mean,
the
a lot of those guys
offense,
play.
yes. The defense has 7 new starters. The front 4 is completely different. None of those guys have played a ton last year.
But they got talent.
So does Ohio State.
That front, I don't know. That front 4 is what I still have question marks about. But I think Clemson's offense. I mean, all those guys have played in big games. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, Justin Ross. They all made.
Are those
plays
guys we
last
should
year.
know? Are those names we should? Oh,
You will. Don't worry. I mean, they're. I can safely say this.
those are good players, is what you're saying.
I can safely say this. I understand Ohio State has dudes. Good God, do they have dudes? But Clemson also has players who will make an impact. I don't.
They won a national title last year with a
and-
lot of these guys.
And just beat the snot out of some really good. I mean, Alabama corners, we can all say they were young, they were whatever. They tried a fake punt or a fake field goal that involved a
Punter, a punter running the ball. Yeah, was that not
Who was
a good?
the lead blocker? I thought the
No,
kicker was the lead blocker.
either the punter was the lead blocker and the kicker was the guy with the ball, or vice versa. It was
amazing,
did not
but also a disaster.
It was what my son's first grade teacher would call a sad choice. That is not the way that you draw up a running play.
It was the kind of thing that people at the coaching convention just cackled maniacally at. And some of those are FCS coaches, and they were still laughing. But it was, I mean, they still have dudes. They have talent that you just sort of watch and you're like, well, I don't know what to do with that, but that kid's fast, that kid has moves, that kid can shake anyone in college football.
In talking to a few of the Clemson folks, there seem to be some concerns about the secondary, the safeties. Maybe that's an area of exploitation for Ohio State. Tom, with concerns about the Clemson safeties, it would seem like Ohio State's receivers, Justin Fields, there might be something there that can happen for the Buckeyes.
Maybe
Who's the slot receiver for them?
the slot receiver for Ohio State.
Yeah.
Sean Wade.
That would be
KJ Hill.
KJ Hill.
KJ Hill, the
KJ
all-time
Hill.
leading
Okay, see,
receiver.
He's what they call their H receiver.
Oh, boy.
So,
Okay.
and he's the all-time. He just broke David Boston's career record for receptions. So he's
him
not
against
a
Tanner
big
Hughes?
play. He's not a
Right.
big play receiver,
No.
but he's kind of the consistent good hands guy.
He
over the
can be
middle.
a big play.
He can but he has not. That has not been his
No,
role on the
correct,
team
correct.
over the years. The concern I think for Ohio State then would be, okay, if you can protect Justin Fields long enough to get the ball downfield, you potentially have a chance to make some plays down there.
This is the biggest question for me.
This is I mean, I have 3 questions for Ohio State, and it's like which team wins 2 of these 3 questions, and that team wins the game.
Okay.
Number 1 is, can Ohio State protect Justin Fields? Number 2
So that's
is
the tackles, right? You're talking pass protection.
yes, pass pro.
And
yeah.
those, it's the tackles and Dobbins, or
Yes.
a tight end, or
Yes.
whoever. Okay.
Pat-
I don't think Clemson has a pass rusher that Ohio State's going to have to chip on. Or
But they
have to
don't.
help
But,
with.
but the exotic
Look at-
blitzes,
It's the blitzes that get
yeah,
Ohio State.
that's where it gets interesting,
Hold on a
because
moment.
Venables' defense isn't going to just going to, you're not going to neutralize that defense with a, hey, we're just going to block the defensive ends, we're good. That's not how this is going to work.
I was chatting with a coach. I can't actually remember which coach, but whatever. And he basically said, on the outside, Clemson, very simple. Man up, do that thing. In the box is where they get complicated.
Yeah.
They're going to throw something at you because Brent Venables is that good. He knows all that stuff, and he's going to throw something that you might not have seen. He's going to watch all that film. He's going to get the sense for what you can do, and you've got to prevent that free runner, because that free runner, he's going to destroy everything, and you got to have someone chip him, someone cut him, someone do that.
Yeah, watching Clemson play over these last few weeks, going back and watching the film, it was confusing where guys were coming from on defense, and I mean intentionally so. And
But you're a terrible quarterback.
I am not a good quarterback. Part of that has to do with being 5'6" and having a small arm.
What's your NCAA 14 record? Can you read the blitz?
Phenomenal. But I played on rookies, so
They're going to hit
Whatever.
you with 6 rushers most of the time.
yeah.
Because
And
Venables can.
It's either do it.
Yeah, they're not rushing 6 most of the time.
They can hit
but
you
they
with that
will.
huge-
They will sometimes. And it's like, make us pay for it if we're not, especially with a
And they
guy.
haven't played teams that can make them pay for it.
Yeah, and it's like
That's
but
why I think Ohio State scores a lot of points in this game.
Justin
I think
Fields-
this game's a
Holy hell,
shootout.
Sean Wade.
Justin Fields and
Just-
Josh Myers have to recognize where stuff is coming from, and if they don't recognize that, then they're in trouble. And if they do, then you can hit to exploit. And that was what a lot of teams in the ACC were not able to do, was recognize, all right, this guy's coming from here. And there was a lot of pre-snap stuff that didn't make any sense. They do it's window dressing, right? Like, they'll bring, Tanner Muse will act like he's blitzing, and then he'll drop back in coverage. Isaiah Simmons, same thing. It'll be a bunch of guys doing a lot of stuff, and then you'll bring somebody from somewhere else, or you'll bring those guys, and you think that So at least in my watching of them, there's a lot of stuff similar to motions on offense and stuff like that, just to make you look. And you've got a young center, Josh Myers at Ohio State, and you've got a young quarterback. They're a year in, but these guys have never played these two type of teams, and I think that'll be very interesting to see how they handle that.
Can we also say Isaiah Simmons is kind of a game wrecker?
Yeah.
That
100%.
That dude is he Clemson's best pass rusher?
And he is the hybrid linebacker safety guy that does
plays
everything
safety
for the Buckeye
and
fans
he
out
leads
there.
them in sacks.
Yeah.
And you just look at that and you're like, well,
Linebacker.
Well, but he can play safety.
He can't play safety. Yeah.
He's just a long dude.
It depends on who you look at, what they list him as. Because I've seen him listed as safety.
He's a linebacker.
But you watch him play safety. You watch all of their. The thing about Clemson is they have so much flexibility. They run a quote unquote 4-3, but Isaiah Simmons can do whatever you want. I don't know that he could per se cover KJ Hill because goddamn KJ Hill. But
come on, man.
excuse me.
You can censor that.
KJ Hill.
I'm not going to censor anything tonight.
KJ Hill is a dude,
this.
and I respect KJ Hill. Again, I'm a Wisconsin alum. I've seen the damage that man can do for God knows how many years. But Simmons can at least bother him enough to make him at least hand him off to a safety.
Well, let me ask you this, you two. Watching Ohio State, having watched Clemson the entire year, where are the matchups that you see, offensively, defensively, whatever, that you're like, this could be a bad matchup for Clemson? Where do you see it being a negative for Clemson?
Thank you, Pat. I would also like to ask that question.
I think up
I'll
front.
let him do it first.
I think up front.
I learned it all from you.
Clemson's offensive line, I think it's been really good this year. They were really good last year against Alabama and gained a lot of confidence in that game and really surprised a lot of people. But I still think Jackson Carman, being a sophomore, his first year starting,
Apparently he talked some stuff.
He's going to have his hands full.
We already covered that.
Yeah,
No.
we don't know what stuff he taught, but he apparently taught some stuff at some point. But
He did.
I think that's going to be a tough matchup. And it's not just
Well,
Chase
they've
Young.
got to, if you're looking at it from an Ohio State perspective, you've got to move Chase Young around, right?
Yeah,
You can't,
yeah.
Right,
You
and
can't,
they've done that.
They have, but the last few
matter.
games,
Don't matter.
I'd like to see the more linebacker thing where he's just moving all over the place.
you move him around, but then he's going to get double teamed probably. So you bring a blitz from the outside. Remember when we were talking about, and I know this excludes you guys for a second, but remember when we were talking about Sean Wade and the blitzes?
Yeah.
And he had the sack, and we literally interviewed him about this. And why has that not happened since Chase has started to get double and triple teamed? Or Malik Harrison that guy's a great blitzer. Or put Baron Browning out there, these are things that are very simple to do, and maybe they haven't done it because they haven't needed to, but it just to me it seems like these are things that
how
everyone's so focused on Chase Chase on the left hand side,
But how effective is Trevor Lawrence against the blitz?
Really good.
he's really
Yeah.
I mean,
very good.
they're such an RPO offense that they're going to attack where you're not. And when they attack where you're not, it's T. Higgins on the screen. It's just dump the ball to Travis Etienne, who is terrifying.
Yeah.
And
I think he's a huge X factor in this game.
he
I think
is,
both running backs, frankly,
Especially
him
in
and
pass
J.K.
game.
Dobbins could both
Because-
be huge X factors.
because you have such talent at the running back. You have such talent everywhere. And
Yeah, sure. You're in the playoff.
complete. Oh,
And you're
even
not
beyond
Oklahoma.
that. You're not. Poor Oklahoma. But I mean, you watch Chase Young, and again, Wisconsin alum. I remember watching him in that Big Ten title game. They ran a split zone against him. They try to have a tight end get at him, and he swims that tight end and blows it up. Chase Young is that good. I'm going to be interested to see Do they try Chase Young in some 3-down looks, just line up behind the nose tackle and say, go do some damage? Because he has the ability to do that. Do you keep him in one spot? As you said, do you move him around?
Well,
You have to move him.
2 games in a row, he's been neutralized by
quote,
being,
unquote.
handled by multiple blockers. I don't know if Clemson feels they can do it
Held by multiple
with one
blockers.
guy and a chipper. Well, there's also that if the refs are going to call it tight, then you're going to have an issue.
But-
And I think all of the tackles will, because Ohio State's tackles will hold as well.
Well, they should.
But you had
'cause they're
your
bad.
number 1, which was pass protection. What's your number 2?
Number 1 is Ohio State's pass pro. Number 2, can Ohio State run the football? If Ohio State can run the football consistently with J.K. Dobbins, you keep Clemson's offense off the field.
Or Justin Fields.
I mean, I would not count on Justin Fields being the.
But
I think
you have to count on it.
That's really just that's almost. I'm looking at it from a Ohio State offensive line versus Clemson defensive line. Can Ohio State generate a consistent push, move the ball, just the way they've done against a lot of teams this year? If they can do that, because Clemson's defensive line is very good, but it's not last year's Clemson defensive line. So, I think
Clemson's defensive line really isn't that good this year. It's
Even Xavier?
just being frank.
Let him talk.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
I had
People
to,
want to hear this, all
I
right?
had to cover a horrendous amount of Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas?
Yes.
I had to cover a horrendous amount of his recruitments.
Xavier Thomas has 2 sacks all year. He was supposed to have a great year.
Yeah, but run in terms
He
of
quite
run.
frankly hasn't had a great year. And so, he hasn't shown up. You mentioned Chase Young's been neutralized the past couple of games. Xavier Thomas has been neutralized since mid-September, and he was a preseason All-American.
Why do you think that is? What's?
I mean, part of it was an injury. Part of it was, I think, the coaching staff tried to tell us in the preseason he was still battling for a starting job, and he still had some work to do and needed to grow up and be more, I guess, more of an all-around player. And they've kind of been waiting on that. And Brent Venables has said that he's pretty pleased with the progress that he's made. But statistically and really pass rushing wise, he hasn't made a huge impact.
Let's just say this. I mean, and I say this as nicely as I can, but like, if you are that 5-star pass rusher, a lot of those guys, they just don't quite deliver early. And I say that not to be mean to Chase Young, but like,
Well, Chase Young didn't deliver early.
well,
Yeah.
excuse me, Chase
He was also
Sorry,
behind
not-
the other guys.
Not
Four
necessarily mean
NFL
to
defensive ends.
Xavier Thomas, but so much expectation gets built around a great pass rusher, a 5-star pass rusher. It's really hard to deliver and hit on that. And I think Xavier Thomas is great. He's very good.
He hasn't been great this year.
Well,
He
I
hasn't
think-
been anywhere near great
excuse
this
me,
year.
His top end is great, but he's not quite there yet. And it's one of those things where you go into this kind of game, and if he plays great, that is a game swing moment. If
Sure.
he
We talked about that the other night.
if he has that moment where he swims a guy twice and hits Justin Fields for a sack, or forces an incompletion, or stops 1 or 2 drives, that's a game changer. Now, that being said, he hasn't quite done that to this point, as Matt said, and you've got to kind of say, is this the moment where he does that, or is this the moment where he doesn't? And God bless him, Justin Fields is a heck of a quarterback, and he just throws a dime, and that's that.
If he's the reason Ohio State loses this game, I think everybody in the stadium will be shocked. I know Venables was talking him up yesterday and saying, obviously his best football is ahead of him, but that he's going to be a great, great player. I don't see Clemson stopping Ohio State's running game
That's an issue.
because nobody has stopped them this year. J.K. Dobbins is the most disrespected running back in America.
Quote.
Oh,
And-
dear.
But he's also one of the best, if not the
Gerd
best.
also blamed that on me.
which was
Trying
fun.
to-
I mean,
But he's really, really good. The offensive line is a great run offensive line, not necessarily a great pass blocking. But the better you run it, the more you keep it away from Trevor Lawrence. And I think, Tom, your first 2 things, I keep saying this, if Ohio State protects Justin Fields and they run the ball well, they can't lose this game or they can't lose the next game. But it's that first thing that I I don't know how possible it is. The second thing, I think they're going to run it. I don't know how well they're going to pass block. And just those inside blitzes that Wisconsin had, they sacked him five times in each of the 2 games. There's a lot of stuff that Clemson can do. Brett Venables with all of the blitzes. Josh Myers, the center, the offensive line, they get outnumbered a little too often. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of, for me, that's the biggest concern for Ohio State is just keeping Justin Fields upright.
Well, okay, my biggest concern would be how do you stop Clemson's offense?
And that's number 3. That was my number 3 thing is, okay, how does Ohio State's defensive backfield match up with Clemson's wide receivers? Because, I think Travis Etienne's going to run the ball, and, I think he's going to probably put up 100 yards, but I don't think he's going to put up 200 yards. I think he's the best running back in the country.
With the ball in his hands,
I think Travis Etienne is the best running back in the country.
Here's the thing. He's the best if you give him the ball. And someone had described it in some article before this year. It was basically like they go so RPO heavy that Travis.
I don't think that matters. I think.
No, I mean when he gets the ball, but he might get 10 carries.
I think Ohio State pays too much. I think teams have paid too much attention to their passing game, but they don't pay enough attention to that running attack, and that kid's really good.
But
as much as he doesn't I learned this the other day. He doesn't want to talk about how good he is.
Nope.
But I tried.
And J.K. Dobbins was the exact opposite.
Does Ohio State? Do they say we're going to go too high, or do they go 1 high?
No, they're going to go 1 high.
They're going to go 1 high.
They've done all year.
And they're going to say, get the ball out of his hands. And, I mean, I respect that because don't let him get the ball. We're literally at a point where, and Matt can attest to this, in the middle of the year, someone was like, well, the only way to beat Clemson is if you just force them to just dump it off to him. And you're just like, yeah, you could dump it off to him, and he'll kill you for 200 yards a game. Travis Etienne is that good. So you have to step back, and you have to sort of force the ball out of his hands.
At this point, everyone's so good, right?
Well, that's true.
Trevor Lawrence is arguably the best quarterback Ohio State's defense has faced this year.
Better than Shea Patterson.
Him and Shea Patterson.
I'm going to ask, y'all have covered Ohio State for the whole season.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, who is the best quarterback that Ohio State has faced?
It's either Jack Cohn or Shea Patterson.
Or Gunnar Hoke.
Or Gunnar Hoke. And
they're back.
And that's the thing where I think Ohio State's secondary is really, really good, but they have not faced anybody.
Well, that 2016 secondary was really good too.
But they were really good, and they weren't the reason they lost.
But they faced Deshaun Watson, who is secretly an all-timer. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about him enough.
I think Trevor's better than Deshaun.
He's more talented. His top end is more talented.
He also has better receivers. You had Mike Wallace on that,
and better hair.
Mike Williams on that team. Sorry,
and he's probably faster.
Better.
Yeah, but
he's both that.
But you have 3 receivers on this team that are at least that level.
That's your boy, Jack.
And I know this because I have Mike Williams on one of my dynasty teams.
I say this as a Wisconsin alum. Jack Cohn he seems like a lovely human being.
Why are we talking about Jack Cohn? There's no reason.
Exactly.
As with everything, this is Gerd's fault.
Yeah, and he might be the person who's the best quarterback.
I think
Justin
and T are better than Mike probably.
And that's messed up.
I mean, collectively at least, you have two very good receivers as opposed to one.
Mike didn't have a whole lot of help on that.
Right.
That team at receiver.
And let's say Mike carried a 6'3" corner, not a good 6'3" corner, but a 6'3" corner, carried him 15 yards into an end zone.
Yeah, but it was South Carolina like that.
I know it was garbage, but I mean...
Yeah, we're not talking about South Carolina.
It was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
No one cares about those games.
I've seen many a sad game, and in all the high school games I saw, I was like, that might be worse than I've ever seen. Jeez. And they scored 2 more touchdowns. Sorry.
So you have concerns. You guys, from talking to the Clemson folks around, they have concerns about the defense. Do you have concerns, or do you expect Ohio State to be able to run the ball?
I do. I think Ohio State's offense is going to have a lot of success in this game. I just think Clemson's defense all year with that front four has had to, which I mentioned.
During the show?
Excuse me.
God,
How dare
gosh, bless it.
I mentioned I'm not sold on Clemson's front four, and so I think this year they've had to find new ways to stop the run and stop the pass, and it's been a lot of blitzing, and no one's really been able to expose that yet.
Explain
And I think
to
Ohio
your
State
best
can.
knowledge. Explain a Venables defense, because I think that's interesting. I think that's actually the most interesting thing is Brett Venables and like what he's done. No, you can't.
Well, as Day says, it's it's out fronts, it's bare fronts, it's four down.
I mean, but we've heard the basic talk, but like,
is it just
from
constant
watching?
chaos?
It's a lot of chaos. I thought Kevin Wilson was.
all in the
I think it was great when he was talking about Venables the other day, and he said, "So you watch them all
they
film."
work together, just so
Right,
clear.
they did.
Like those two were together at Oklahoma.
He said
so
you
they
watch.
know each other
He
well.
said you watch them on film, and Clemson's defense looks confused. They look like they're not lined up. They don't know what's going on. And then the ball snapped, and they're in the backfield immediately, and it's a loss of 2. And I thought that was a great explanation. Is that it's just organized chaos. It looks like they have no idea.
But why? Like, explain why.
Because there are guys coming from everywhere, and there are guys Venables is great about waiting until late.
Yeah.
Right before the play is snapped, he looks at the defense. He makes his call late. And when he makes his call, it's something that he's confident in. It's something that he's watched enough film that he feels confident about what he's seeing. And they're going to throw a blitz at you that you're not going to know where it's coming from. And the next thing you know, they're in the backfield making a play.
So not that this is that relevant to what's going to happen in this game, but like, Gerd, for you, do you have a defensive coordinator on the sideline that, like, not that Jeff Hafley's going to be there, but, like, would you have Jeff Hafley on the sideline to do, like, what Venables does? Because, like, you can't call that from the press box.
Right. No, you've got different kinds of coordinators. Like Kevin Wilson likes being on the field, or likes being up in the upstairs. Quarterbacks, former quarterbacks, like being on the field because that's what they've seen before. But in terms of defensive guys, it's just a personal preference.
Most of them seem to like being in the...
Because it's like the all-22 upstairs.
Yeah. Venables is one of the few that I feel like is on the field.
I will say there are a lot of teams that are worried about Clemson/Venables stealing signals. And
Whatever works, right?
Right, and it's been interesting. It's been interesting. This year they've had like 3 games where the offenses on the other offenses have ran plays over from the sideline or not done signals or whatever.
The Patriots have won multiple Super Bowls doing this, so...
Well, is it true that like the no huddle up tempo stuff can be more effective against them because then they can't wait till the last minute to make all of these changes, and that the organized chaos that Kevin Wilson was talking about, where guys aren't even set and the ball is snapped and they just continue that motion right to the ball. I think keeping them off balance, even though they seem to like it later on, the earlier you do it, I think would be more effective.
South Carolina last year put up 510 passing yards against Clemson, and a lot of that was it was a bad game. They had guys, they just played awful. But some of that too was they exposed some things in that secondary. They did some no-tempo stuff to kind of get Clemson out of its rhythm. And so, they've definitely had some troubles with no-huddle stuff.
If I may, what South Carolina did very effectively was they would audible, force Clemson to look back. Clemson's players are looking at Venables. He's signaling, and they would call play.
Those signals always are weird, by the way. Can we talk about like the way he signals in?
They messed up the half signals. That was kind of a thing they did. It was very odd because they scored a lot of points, but ultimately Clemson had too much talent. And if Ohio State can do that, and if Venables is vulnerable to that, which who knows, he may have covered for it because it's been a year since then. But if they could hit him on those plays, that would be potentially a game changer. I don't know that he's that vulnerable because, again, Brent Venables is smart as hell. Brent Venables is going to have an extra hat in the box, and he uses it.
But Kevin Wilson knows him.
Oh, I know Kevin Wilson. Kevin Wilson.
Literally, their boyfriend and girlfriend.
Oh, that is.
I mean, like that's essentially how.
That's Patrick Murphy. 247.
No, but I mean, like that's how that was what they were. They were boy. At Oklahoma, they were the guys.
I'm a person who, again, I cover South Carolina, and I literally wrote in a list of offensive coordinators. I said, Kevin Wilson, who is from North Carolina, would be a great hire at this school for that reason. Now, that being said, if he can one move ahead of him in terms of chess, that would change a lot of things. But that's the kind of thing this game is going to come down to. It's going to come down to who has one move ahead, who has that one little thing, or whose talent just outduels the other talent. Because, let's face it, we watched the Alabama game last year. Clemson receivers beat Alabama corners, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, but that was a depleted Alabama. Let's be real.
Yeah, but still.
No 5
one
stars
else has done that to Alabama. No one else has.
I mean,
wait. Did you miss 2014?
Well,
where were you then?
Sorry. No one else outside of Joe Burrow has done it to Alabama.
It was a 14-0 Alabama team that was really freaking good.
Called one of the best teams in the history of the sport.
2014, if you hand the ball to Zeke and you get the blocking right, you're all good.
With all of
because
this,
Lord knows
the up-tempo stuff. What Ohio State has done at times this season is they've faked like the meerkat that look over and make it look like they're getting the play in from,
and then quick,
and then as the defense does the same thing, they snap the ball, and so maybe they'll put that stuff to the test.
Well, that's interesting. Like, how do you guys think Clemson responds if that happens? How do you think Clemson responds?
I mean, that's. Like I said, that's the one thing.
I mean, that's on
South
tape.
Carolina struggles on. Yeah, I mean, it's something they'll be ready for. I mean,
it was.
Venables watches.
You fake it
because
fake
like a really long time.
You pretend to snap it, then you come back.
Because Venables saw that South Carolina game, and he knows everyone's going to try to copy that. And Venables is extremely smart. He knows what he's doing.
The best.
He'll figure it out. I feel like there's some sarcasm in there, maybe?
No, that was 100%. I think he's the best defensive coordinator in the country.
He is.
Hands down.
He is terrifically good. He is
better than Alex Grinch.
Oh, no, don't be mean. Don't be so mean.
We'll see what Joe Burrow does.
Who even is OSU's coordinator? Is it still Madison?
Madison and Jeff
Halfley together. Yep.
Halfley going to Boston College now?
Yes, correct.
I mean, and I'll say this. I think Madison's a hell of a defense coordinator, but at least, again, to me, a step back, having seen, he feels like he's going to trust his base. He's going to trust what he knows, and he's going to trust his dudes. And in a kind of game like this, it's sort of a question of, is it a trust your dudes game, or is it a trust your scheme game? And that Clemson scheme might just get a half step ahead of them.
I think it still comes down to execution because this is one of those games that Ryan Day calls the talent is equated.
Yeah, but unlike the last couple of times when he said the talent is equated, the talent actually is equated. This is not like Penn State and Michigan.
Did he say talent's equated in the Big Ten title game?
He has said
he lies a lot.
Yeah, he said it.
That's
he said
a
it
nice thing to say to Wisconsin.
He said it about the Penn State game. He said it about the Michigan game. And he said if the talent equates, it's about execution. It's like, well. But the talent isn't really equated when you're playing Penn State or Michigan because it's like the talent's closer.
That's not fair.
Closer, but it's not
Penn
equated.
State, Michigan, Wisconsin. No disrespect.
No. I think the stubby kids
State,
who play at Wisconsin.
I think Penn State and Wisconsin, or Penn State and Michigan. Sorry, I think that's. They recruit on similar levels, like
I mean, they're
they're
on similar levels, but equate means equal, and that is. But they're not equal, and this is the first time all year Ohio State's playing.
This will be the most equal
talent.
For sure.
Yes, this will be the most equated talent there is.
All right, if I can,
but that should be the correct. I mean, like,
yeah,
if you're looking at it from a overall perspective, like this is you're playing the playoff. Like this should be the most equated. Mm-hmm. This is what like.
Yeah,
you did what you needed to do to win your league. Conference, whatever you want to call it. And so this should be that, right? Like, I mean, you proved you were better. So I don't know if that necessarily means that he was wrong in saying that, like, talent wasn't equated in those games. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. You know, how good was Penn State? How good?
Here-
Yeah.
We can argue that all
narrator
day,
voice.
but-
If I may for a moment. All right, so I've ducked into a few coaching clinics, and when you go to one of those, the thing you realize is the whole difference is a horrendous deal of biomechanics. Like who drops their hips lower, who does this very technical thing. And I feel like this game is going to come down to the very technical things. Who drops hips, who gets their hands in the right place like a half second earlier, who does one of those. And if 3 or 4 of those moments hit, that's going to make the difference. And that's where I sort of feel the difference. And it's tough because, God, these teams are both talented and they're both incredibly well coached. And it's going to be someone messes up their hands, someone steps wrong in their drop back for half a second.
Like it'll come down to turnovers.
And they're going to get blown up. Or as you said, turnovers. They're going to get hit while throwing. They're going to get strip sacked. They're going to think they have an extra half second, and their offensive tackle is going to give up that thing. And it'll be close, and it'll be one of those things that's right on the margins. And it's hard to tell because you don't know what those things are going to be up until the moment they happen. And all of us are going to be sitting in a press box and saying, oh, well, they gave her a strip sack.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of it. That turned a 3-point lead into an 11-point lead, and someone's playing catch-up the whole way, and shrug.
Yeah.
It's a game.
This does feel like a game where it's two really talented teams, two well-coached teams that are going to play a really close competitive game, and it is like, yep, there's going to be that one play,
You mean
that
like
one
the
moment.
Rams and the Patriots in the Super
Nobody
Bowl.
cares.
Get
about
out!
the NFL.
Get out, you!
That's college football heaven. No one follows college football heaven here. College football players die. They go ascend to college football heaven, and I don't know what happens then. I'm not there. I don't know.
Someone's going to slip.
Yeah,
They're going to slip on a
that's it.
pass block.
That's it.
They're going to give a strip sack. And
Yeah,
that's it. Or a shrug.
There's going to be that one moment where you just kind of go, "Oh, that was it. That was it right there." And this is the two best teams in the country. I know that there is not unanimous agreement about that around this table, but that's fine. Other people can
Who's
be
not
wrong.
in
That's fine.
Wait. Who's not in agreement about that?
This is the two cleanest teams in the country.
It seems like it is the two most complete teams in the country.
Highest
to me.
floor, as it were.
Highest floor, most well-rounded, however you want to say it. Like, this feels like this is the national championship.
I just look at what
game to
LSU's
me.
done defensively the past couple games when
Everyone is sick of your LSU homerism.
when they've needed to make. I'm a Purdue homer.
I mean,
That's even worse.
Even worse.
When
I'm
LSU's
gonna-
needed to make stops, they've made stops, and the last couple games they've shut down.
Wait,
Texas
is
A&M.
that-
They've made stops when their offense has.
They've shut
allowed
down
them
Texas
to make
A&M, and they've shut down Georgia
Is-
completely in
Let's
back-to-back
look at where
games.
those-
is that an
offensive
LSU
ranks.
homer? I mean, I say this again as a Wisconsin alum. I got to watch 3 years of Dave Aranda. I think he'll be good enough.
I think
The
when they need to
question
make
is-
stops, he's good enough, and they have enough
The
talent.
question is,
they'll
did-
make stops.
This team
Do they
wins. The winner of this game wins the national title.
I think.
Yeah, I completely disagree.
You know what?
But it's okay.
I think we're gonna get two.
Well, blank you, Matt.
We're gonna get 2 excellent games, and you know what? I'm happy about that
No,
because
I think you're
frankly,
gonna get one excellent game, and you're gonna get
I don't.
whatever Oklahoma.
But
I mean,
this-
2
this
excellent
and the national
games.
championship
This and the
game.
national
Yeah.
championship
Fiesta
game
Bowl and
because
Well,
the
you're gonna get this game, and then
exactly.
yes, I believe the national championship game will be good. There's
Because-
no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I
Because
don't.
LSU will be in it, and Joe Burrow against either of these two teams will be
gonna put up
very
40
interesting.
points.
Yeah.
Can we pause for a moment? We're on an Ohio State podcast.
Actually, pause or no?
No,
No.
actually, not actually pause. No.
Figuratively speaking,
Do you want to cuss some more?
I really do, but I won't.
we don't do the
well,
swears here.
Well,
It's good. It's good Midwestern clean. I love it.
Exactly.
But what was Joe Burrow as an Ohio State quarterback? Because
this is an
again,
interesting conversation.
as
Actually,
as an outsider,
you can take this into another podcast.
as an outsider, I can't tell if Ohio State Joe Burrow was merely good but waiting to make this jump, or was in fact that good This
is what the Bengals are hoping to figure out.
Well, I was going to say, feed into, like, the JT Burrow... Barrett. God dang it. What all of your listeners are probably yelling at their respective podcast apparatuses.
Boom boxes.
Oh, are they in boom boxes these days? But
it's still 1986.
Again,
go on. Yes, go on.
I know some Ohio State fans, and they have certain feelings about Barrett, and I don't really understand, was Burrow this, or was Burrow just sort of blossomed this year to this point?
How many fifth-year seniors are that until they're fifth-year seniors? That's what Joe Burrow is. He was the backup until he broke his hand in the 2017
fall camp 2017.
And so Dwayne Haskins,
10 days before the season opened.
So
Dwayne Haskins was super.
Well, he wasn't.
Well, but he wasn't.
But he was the backup by default.
Okay.
And so then the 2017 happens, and Dwayne Haskins goes in against Michigan.
The Michigan game was the big thing.
And there's a knock at the door.
I mean, he was super in that game.
And so
at least
then
we can agree.
Yeah, and then there was no.
It's like it's a maze.
And so.
Yeah.
And so then there is no battle for the backup job once the season is going on. And Joe Burrow never had a chance to really catch back up and dethrone Dwayne Haskins. So I think he would have been fine. I think he would have been able to do. He would have been better at Ohio State last year than he was at LSU.
Last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not this year.
No.
And
Joe Brady
great.
made him into.
But he's got 80% completion.
Yeah, like let's be honest about what Joe Brady did.
I don't watch a lot of college football. Is that good? That sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good.
And I ask this because I'm perpetually fascinated by this sort of the counterfactuals about Joe Burrow, because some Ohio State fans say he would have been this good, and some say he wouldn't have been.
You can't tell. Like there's no truth.
And he wasn't great. He was fine.
He wasn't great.
Right.
He was high.
So look
high
at
upside, low downside.
Look at what Dwayne Haskins did. Right.
And Dwayne Haskins was amazing.
So maybe he grows up and becomes Dwayne Haskins, and is a Heisman contender just like he was at LSU.
Or he would have grad transferred.
You just don't know. Like it's so tough to say. Would he have been good? Yes, I think he would have been good. I think what he did this year proved he's a very good quarterback. Would he have been that good? I don't know.
Our assessment of Joe Burrow this time, a year and a half ago, like summer of 2017, was basically Joe Burrow is the higher floor, lower ceiling than Dwayne Haskins. Like Dwayne Haskins, if Dwayne Haskins really lit it up in 2018, the ceiling was probably higher for him at that point.
But he put his fist through the ceiling.
He put his fist through the ceiling and broke every Ohio State passing
record.
record.
And still finished third in the Heisman voting.
And it was amazing in retrospect. That's
the thing. Like people look at Joe Burrow winning the Heisman this year and go, "Well, Ohio State picked the wrong guy." It's like, well, did they? Because last year Joe Burrow did not finish third in the Heisman, and
here's the way you look. Here's the way you look at it. Who cares what his numbers were? Does Joe Burrow beat Purdue? And do they go to the playoff because of that?
Of course
No.
No one's beating Purdue.
Well, yeah, thanks, Matt. But it's. But I mean, like, let's be real here. Like, if we're looking at it from a strictly results perspective, which is what, like, who cares about the Heisman? Like,
correct.
Joe Burrow, if he were the quarterback, doesn't care about the Heisman.
Wait,
he probably doesn't.
Get out.
You don't think he cares about the Heisman?
No, like at that time, like in last year, if he were the starting quarterback for last season's Ohio State team, he would want to be in the playoff, correct?
Correct.
Arguably.
So losing to Purdue, well, finishing third like Dwayne Haskins didn't help.
But was Joe Burrow playing defense?
Yeah, and that's my point. Is like Joe Burrow doesn't impact that.
Maybe, but yeah.
So
he was defensive back
ultimately, like this, it worked out. It worked out as
was needed.
It worked out as impeccably as it could have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, we'll see what Joe does. Like, maybe they'll go on and win the national championship, maybe they won't. But, like, Joe Burrow's career couldn't have worked out probably, I mean, like,
Yeah.
Had he gone to Nebraska, maybe that's the one thing. Like he transferred to Nebraska, maybe that's the one thing that works out better. But like,
I don't think so.
this is the best.
You think
the
Joe
best
Burrow?
situation.
Let's back up to the point where you think that
Hold
Joe
on.
Burrow transferring to Nebraska works
beats
out
Ohio
better,
State, wins the national
better
title.
than Joe Burrow winning
Beats
the
Ohio
Heisman
State,
Trophy.
wins the national
He
title.
goes 8-4 at Nebraska.
Let's sum it up.
Nebraska doesn't have any.
Maybe.
If I may, is it?
Look, I've watched Taylor Martinez play quarterback.
Oh no! Don't do that.
What about Adrian Martinez?
That's what I meant. I've also watched Taylor Martinez.
I'm going to be honest.
Neither of them were very good.
I'm going to be honest. I kind of found Taylor Martinez more entertaining. I don't know if he was better, but let's step back for a moment. Joe Burrow stepped back and allowed a Heisman finalist to step up and do his thing, and then the next year,
kind of.
Haskins was a Heisman finalist.
Correct.
And frankly, if it weren't for sort of weird narrative factors, and again, as a Big Ten alum, I respect the fact that if things had lined up a little differently, Haskins would have won the Heisman and Ohio State would have gone to the playoff. It was just a matter of the fact that people were so down on Ohio State up until...
Oh, I was talking about the fact that you said Joe let him win the job.
No, I didn't say let him win the job. I said he won the job over him.
Well, he did. He never won the job. That is the thing.
Oh, boy. I'm not going to get into that level of detail, but...
Well, that's fine. I know what happened.
The person who won the job was a Heisman
Talk to
finalist,
Joe about it.
and you happen to fall into a situation where the guy that left
What's crazy
also
is
won the Heisman.
What's crazy is both guys. Yeah, exactly.
They
were
were
both Heisman finalists.
They were so good,
Joe won it. Dwayne was a finalist,
And-
they both were there.
but you have this feeling that if Joe had stayed there, given the fact that all the pieces weren't quite in place, he might not have won it. That I got a lot of sighs from the Ohio State contingent,
I don't know.
and I
It's just-
appreciate that.
It's
I don't know if Joe
that's one
wins
of those. That's one of those like the Facebook status. There is it's complicated.
I agree
because
with
it's
that.
like so if Joe Burrow isn't the starter at Ohio State in 2018, does he make the same leap just based purely on the reps that he got in 2018 to 2019?
So where's
I-
Dwayne go?
Exactly.
If Joe stays,
but if- but
and
it-
Dwayne transfers,
Well, and here's the
Right.
thing: you had this.
so Maryland
Oh,
all
boy.
of a sudden becomes a juggernaut.
Boy.
6-6 quick lane bowl juggernaut.
No
Yes.
one wants.
And Dwayne and Joe still
I'm-
finishes third.
I'm going to tell you this: I'm the only person who's ever wanted to go to a quick lane bowl because it was a shorter drive
you
from
are actually that's,
from Madison than Orlando, and I ate it at Denny's on Christmas Day. Not a story we need to share, but it's the kind of moment that maybe Burrow makes that jump. Maybe it all kind of comes together under Ryan Day. But
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Like
You-
I think Ryan Day would turn Joe Burrow into a great quarterback,
you have to feed
just like he did with those guys. But
you have to
my-
feed Joe Burrow through 1 year of Urban coaching 9 games, 1 year of Joe Burrow running QB power and QB split zone, and
But they didn't.
I
Do
don't
that.
know.
He didn't do
It's
that
just-
with Dwayne. They didn't. Do
he
that
didn't do that with Dwayne because Dwayne was slow.
But
But
that's
Joe
what, I mean, with
Joe
with
Burrow can run.
He
would
would have run.
They wouldn't have
I think
He
he
would
would have
have
run
run
Joe
Joe Burrow.
more, but
more, but they weren't running Joe like they were Dwayne or like JT. Like they
Well,
weren't-
JT was JT, but
right. But I mean, I'm just saying, like at that point, it was clear they were moving away from that style of quarterback. Like I mean, even in recruiting, like they
Well,
weren't
I
recruiting.
can
They were recruiting more. I mean, like you look at the guys they've gotten, they're recruiting more pro style. Like
Yeah.
Ryan Day had a very big influence on the way they were recruiting and how they were recruiting these quarterbacks and like what that system.
so
was
the
about.
Fiesta Bowl.
The what? The
oh,
what
is that
now?
a thing?
The who's in the what
they're,
now?
they're gonna play a football game soon, correct?
Matt,
Maybe?
here.
Yeah,
Matt's died. Don't worry about him.
R.I.P.
Let's
Matt.
talk
think-
about Clemson.
I was listening to the 2016, 2017.
He wants to think
had-
about
Matt had
Purdue. Don't
typhoid,
worry.
R.I.P.
I tuned out for a little bit.
He caulked his wagon, tried to
All right.
forward it.
We got Anders here too.
Yeah.
Can we bring Anders in?
Andy Anders
No, oh,
from the Columbus, from the Ohio State Lantern.
this
Andy,
was such a
we
good
need more
podcast.
people in
Why-
no,
why do we
we're,
gotta
we're
bring
gonna
Anders
we're
in?
gonna wrap
Wrap
up.
this up.
We're gonna wrap up. But Andy stopped by.
We appreciate y'all, by the way.
Yes. So Andy, my thought is, if Ohio State can run the ball and they protect Justin Fields, they cannot lose. What do you say? What do you say about the Clemson? I don't even think Clemson's offense is a factor in this. which sounds crazy. I just think if Ohio State does those two things, they'll be fine.
My key is you have to contain Trevor Lawrence. If he gets outside the pocket and is able to
Who is
extend
that?
plays.
He's Clemson quarterback.
The Clemson quarterback.
Sorry.
You may have heard of him, number one overall.
Does he have hair?
Let Andy finish.
If
Have you seen the photo
Let
of him without socks?
Andy finish.
There are no socks in that photo.
I want you
damn
to
it.
think back on some of Ohio State's biggest struggles
Yes.
defending a team. Mobile quarterbacks are always, really for any defense, an Achilles heel. So it's going to be a key to keep him, whether it's spying with Malik Harrison, whether it's preaching rush lanes to the defensive lineman, not letting him escape the pocket.
That one.
I think the key to the game is if you can keep Lawrence contained, then yes, I think you make Clemson's offense a non-factor. I think if you get up a couple scores or even a touchdown at halftime, is Clemson, have they been through enough adversity this year? I don't think that's as big a thing as it's been played up as, but they haven't had to play a game really yet.
Have you seen
It
the
is
North
worth
Carolina
noting.
game? They played a game.
They
That
almost
was only a game because they didn't think it was.
they almost gave up a 2-point conversion that would have made Trevor Lawrence drive for the game-winning score
No, yeah, there's still like a minute
in
and
the
a half
last
left.
minute and a half.
Yeah.
So, let's be real about
Almost.
that one.
Continue what you were
He almost had a Heisman moment.
So yes, I think my key to the game is keeping Lawrence. If you keep Lawrence contained, I think that's one element of the offense where Ohio State's going to be able to line up and defend Clemson's receiving core. I think just they have the best secondary in America. I think Ohio State's going to be able to line up with the best D-line in the country, or one of the best D-lines in the country. Certainly, they have the best D-line, I think, and contain the running game. Right? Not to say that Clemson's defense isn't great as well. But I think over the course of everything, that's... I'm rambling now.
No. I like what you're saying about Trevor Lawrence because I actually wrote about that for tomorrow morning, about how mobile he is and how it's
job,
surprising to
Andy.
the defense. I'm glad you showed up because I totally forgot about that. So
Also, though, it doesn't
So
matter
published.
about Clemson's offense, apparently.
May-
But
Come on, Matt.
you wasted time writing that article. Clemson's offense, it doesn't even matter.
Come on,
Friends.
Matt. Come here.
Friends, let me say this. First of all, spying the quarterback is a lie, and no one does it. And if they do,
Bill Belichick
it's
does it.
garbage. It is
Well, that guy can't
garbage.
coach.
Yeah.
Ohio
He
State
does
did
not.
it
He just
against
spies
Trace
in general.
McSorley
Yeah,
last
he
year,
lies to all
and
of
it
us.
worked.
Also, Trevor Lawrence's mobility secretly terrifying
Yeah.
because he has horrifically long legs, and you just watch him, and you're just like, he's not going so fast, and he is converted third and
That's why you
19.
spy the quarterback.
Yes, but
It doesn't matter if you spy the quarterback because your best defensive player actually can't keep up with him. Sorry.
Just put tough boiler on him.
Have you
Doesn't
seen
matter.
Malik Harrison in space?
Ohio State can keep up with
Spying
him.
on anyone is garbage. So,
But it does take
Ohio
somebody
State's
out
done
of
it
the
in the
pass
past with
defense.
success.
Yeah, they'll do it, and we'll see how it goes. I want to thank everybody, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, especially me.
Plus Kevin Noon, who's not even here.
Yeah, Kevin Newton did not stop by
But
from
he inspired Andy.
Buckeye Grove.
I interned.
So we got Ben from the state, Matt from the state. Thank you guys. Andy from the Lantern. Thank you, Andy, especially for reminding me about something I wrote. Pat from 24/7, Bucknuts, Tom. Where can we read you?
From this podcast, all the time, literally every week.
Oh, just discard that.
all of the weeks?
All of the
All
weeks.
it's literally called the Buckeye Weekly.
All right.
Ooh.
So we want to thank you all for listening and putting up with this, and we'll talk to you guys later.